Hello, my name is Kimelman-Block, and welcome to my senior presentation. Listening to music has always gotten me through my day, calming me when I need to be calm, motivating me when I need motivation, cheering me up when I'm down, and keeping me respectable when I'm happy. Through music, I can learn about the emotional and physical toll historical events took on individual artists and the communities around them. A love for learning fuels my love for music, informing it and motivating me to learn just for the sake of learning. At school, it's easy to lose track of your learning, distracted by grades or achievements. But finding the motivation to learn beyond class requirements is the key to success. Which brings me to my theme. Don't let achievements get in the way of experience. To model my CAP experience, I found 4 of my favorite albums that each relate to one of the 5 competencies and an aspect of my last 3.5 years in CAP. In 1973, Stevie Wonder released his 16th studio album, Inner Visions, inspired by the struggling world around him. Wonder begins the album with songs like Too High and Living for the City, addressing drug abuse and systemic racism. With songs like Higher Ground, Jesus Children of America, and Don't Worry About a Thing, Wonder continues to address the world's problems, but now with a more optimistic outlook, advising his listeners. Wonder's perception of the world around him relates to the social awareness competency at my C-SPAN project. For my C-SPAN student camp project, my group mates and I looked at the history and culture of Washington, D.C., and how its culture affects federal policy in order to answer the question, what does it mean to be American? This wasn't easy. We learned about past political movements and moments, their effect on the city's culture, and future movements. Washington, D.C. will always be a political city, attracting activists from across the country. But we looked at how the constant hum of political movements affected the culture of the city. Studying political movements can be dangerous due to our liberal bias. We exhibited intellectual empathy to offset our biases and look at others' perspective on the movement. After looking at the movements from multiple perspectives, we inferred their effect on public policy and the city's culture. And, like Stevie Wonder on Inner Visions, my group found an artistic way to express what we learned about the city. As director of photography for our video, I was tasked with finding archival footage revealing the history of political movements in the nation's capital. I was able to pair the archival footage I found with similar shots I took around the city, displaying the effect political movements have had on the city's layout and culture. While the project was submitted for a nationwide contest, by focusing our efforts on learning instead of winning, we were able to produce a visually pleasing video backing my theme. Inner Visions is a reflection of Stevie Wonder's view of the struggling world around him. Likewise, my C-SPAN student camp project was a reflection of my broadened view of the history and culture of Washington, D.C. In 1995, Carlos Santana was quietly approaching his debut album's 30th anniversary. His past 2 albums had failed to attract the commercial success of his earlier work, leaving him searching to relaunch his career. A short 4 years later, Santana did just that with his 18th studio album, Supernatural. This incredible album is full of catchy, radio-friendly songs, classic Santana guitar riffs, and most importantly, the album features dozens of genius artists. Showing off different musical stars in each song gives the album a communal feeling. Santana takes the listener on a sonic tour of the music community, using his guitar as the tour guide, and each feature as stops on the tour. Supernatural gave its listeners a detailed view into the music community in 1999, successfully relaunching Santana back into modern mainstream music. This summer, I worked at the Bloomingdale Farmers Market in DC. Even with new COVID restrictions, the market continues to be a place where the community of Bloomingdale comes out to purchase local foods and meet with neighbors. At the market, I ran the Groff's Content farm stand, where I sold pasture-raised, grass-fed meat to the people of Bloomingdale. Markets are seen as community events for neighborhoods, like weekly block parties where people go to meet and catch up with their neighbors, while buying local foods and listening to live music. As a vendor, I was in a unique position as an outsider to the neighborhood community, but a part of the market community. Markets are great ways to heighten neighborhood and city pride while also bringing fresh local foods into the city. But the DC markets are far from perfect, and the majority of problems that I see stem from management. Over the summer, a Washington Post article showed a history of market managers in DC barring vendors of color from their market. At Bloomingdale, market managers would kick out, yell at, and intimidate almost exclusively customers of color. Successful market managers should work with vendors and customers to create a market that runs smoothly and helps the neighborhood build community. But barring vendors and kicking out customers of color does the opposite, creating a market where vendors and customers are afraid to step out of line. The Bloomingdale Farmers Market still has work to do before it runs as smoothly as possible. But even with its problems, it continues to build community and culture in the neighborhood and the city. Learning about the community in Bloomingdale instead of focusing solely on selling product showed me the problems with markets management, reinforcing my theme that achievements shouldn't get in the way of learning. Mr. Schindell's WAVE project asked students to think about an imminent wave in innovations that would bring about structural changes in all social institutions. After spending weeks learning and discussing the drastic effects the wave will have on social institutions supporting our way of life, we broke off into groups, picked a developing technology, and analyzed its effect on a number of social institutions. My group and I chose to look at the effect of cyborg technology, or the interweaving of humanity and computers. I focused my research on Elon Musk's Neuralink, a small chip inserted into the patient's brain with the purpose of understanding brainwaves. While scientists at Neuralink claim it's only wielding patients' thoughts to control a phone hands-free, I quickly saw how the mind-reading device could topple our ideas of privacy and original thought. After many debates and deliberation, my group exhibited intellectual courage in arguing that cyborgs will serve as the last defense humanity has against expanding AI. My group took many risks in this project, spending most of our time researching and developing a simulation instead of making a polished final product, but focusing on learning paid off in the end, emphasizing my theme. Embracing modern technologies, especially the idea of cyborgs, inspired the Paris electronic duo Daft Punk in its 2013 electric disco classic, Random Access Memories. After decades of making music saturated with technological sounds and samples, Random Access Memories adds live features into the Daft Punk sound. Explaining the themes of the album to Rolling Stone magazine, Thomas Bangalter of Daft Punk said, we were drawing a parallel between the brain and the hard drive, the random way that memories are stored. Daft Punk references cyborg technology in both musical ideas and overarching themes used in Random Access Memories, making the album itself proof of the imminent technological wave threatening the institution of popular music. Lauryn Hill's MTV Unplugged #2 is a reflective interpretation on fame's effect on one's mental health. Hill offers her own rocky experience with stardom as evidence of the negative connection between fame and mental health. Hill burst into the mainstream in 1996 with her band The Fugees' sophomore album, The Score, and again in 1998 with her first solo album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. In 2000, after 6 years in the public eye, Hill stepped back from the spotlight into a self-imposed exile. A year later, she recorded Unplugged #2 in front of a live audience with only an acoustic guitar and her voice. Hill offers stories of her choice to step back into her private life and what she found there. Hill's story of pointless achievement, blocking the path to self-reflection, further proves my theme. Similarly, I had to look back and reflect on past experiences while writing my personal narrative in 11th grade. The personal narrative project was a culmination of a first quarter during which we read, discussed, and analyzed well-known autobiographies, memoirs, and narratives. After learning what makes some narratives good and other narratives bad, we were assigned to take a story from our own lives and tell it as a narrative. I chose to tell a story about confrontation and connections between people of different beliefs. Calling upon my newfound knowledge of narratives, I employed a combination of ancient storytelling strategies and modern writing techniques to weave together a story based off personal experience. Storytelling is the basis of communication, history, and culture, no matter the form of media the story is being told through. Learning the fundamental skill of basic storytelling is necessary to use any form of modern media, from songs like Lauryn Hill to writing like my personal narrative project. Listening to music has guided my way through CAP these past 3.5 years, motivating me to learn beyond class requirements while focusing my attention on assignments. Throughout my CAP experience, I've completed many projects and assignments, and I've completed all of them with the same philosophy: worry about learning, not grades. Thank you.